Brett Lorenzo Favre was born on October 10, 1969, in the small town of Gulfport, Mississippi, raised in the nearby community of Kiln. He was one of 4 children born to Benita and Irvin Favre. His father was a high school teacher and football coach, while his mother also worked as a teacher, making education and discipline essential elements of the Favre household. Growing up in a modest home, surrounded by the rugged natural beauty of the Mississippi backwoods, Brett's childhood was shaped by the values of hard work, humility, and resilience. From a young age, Brett was immersed in sports, largely under the guidance of his father. Playing alongside his brothers, he learned not just athletic skills, but also the mental toughness needed to compete. Irvin Favre's coaching style was intense and demanding, and while it sometimes put pressure on Brett, it also forged his competitive spirit. In high school at Hancock North Central, Brett played multiple positions but stood out at quarterback. Despite his impressive arm strength, his raw and unrefined playing style didn't attract the attention of top-tier college recruiters. Southern Mississippi was the only major college to offer him a scholarship, and even there, he was originally recruited as a defensive back. Brett was undeterred. Through sheer persistence and flashes of brilliance, he convinced the coaches to give him a shot at quarterback. Just 3 games into his freshman year, he earned the starting role. Over the next 4 years, he became a sensation for the Golden Eagles, known for his toughness and ability to perform under pressure. He led the team to several upset victories and broke multiple school records, eventually throwing for over 7,000 yards and 52 touchdowns during his college career. However, Favre's time in college wasn't without turmoil. In 1990, just before the start of his senior season, Brett was involved in a near-fatal car accident. He lost control of his vehicle and crashed, resulting in a major abdominal injury that required the removal of 30 inches of his small intestine. Miraculously, he returned to play just weeks later, leading his team to a victory against Alabama. The story became legendary and solidified Brett's reputation as one of the toughest players in football. In the 1991 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected Favre with the 33rd overall pick in the 2nd round. Despite the promise he had shown in college, Favre's time with the Falcons was brief and tumultuous. Head coach Jerry Glanville was openly critical of the pick and gave him little opportunity to play. Brett struggled with the adjustment to professional football, making poor lifestyle choices and lacking discipline. He threw only 4 passes in his rookie year, with 2 falling incomplete, 1 being intercepted and returned for a touchdown, and the last falling to the ground. Atlanta was ready to move on. Ron Wolf, the new general manager of the Green Bay Packers, had been a fan of Favre since his college days. In 1992, he orchestrated a trade to bring Brett to Green Bay in exchange for a first-round draft pick. It turned out to be one of the most transformative decisions in Packers history. That same season, starting quarterback Don Majkowski was injured, and Brett stepped in. In a thrilling comeback against the Cincinnati Bengals, he threw a last-minute touchdown pass to win the game. From that point on, Brett never relinquished the starting job. Favre quickly became the face of the Packers and brought a renewed sense of hope to a storied franchise that had been struggling for years. He started every game from 1992 until 2010, building an NFL record 297 consecutive starts. His fearless playing style, characterized by strong throws, unpredictable plays, and an unshakable will to win, captivated fans and turned him into a legend. Between 1995 and 1997, Favre reached the pinnacle of his career. He won 3 consecutive NFL MVP awards, becoming the first player in league history to achieve that feat. In 1996, he led the Packers to a 13-3 record and a victory in Super Bowl XXXI, defeating the New England Patriots 35-21. He threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another, delivering Green Bay its first championship since the Lombardi era. The next year, the Packers returned to the Super Bowl, but lost a close battle to the Denver Broncos. Favre's tenure in Green Bay was not without adversity. In 1996, he publicly revealed his addiction to Vicodin and entered a rehabilitation program. The announcement shocked the sports world, but earned him praise for his honesty. He returned to the field stronger and more focused. Over the years, he would face the death of his father in 2003, which led to one of the most iconic performances of his career, an emotional Monday night football game against the Oakland Raiders, where he threw 4 first-half touchdowns. Throughout his career, Brett was celebrated for his toughness. He played through sprains, fractures, and concussions, often refusing to leave the game regardless of the injury. He had a unique ability to inspire teammates with his passion and competitive fire. Under coaches like Mike Holmgren and later Mike Sherman, Favre led the Packers to 8 playoff appearances, 5 division titles, and 2 NFC championships. In the twilight of his career, the relationship between Favre and the Packers became strained. The team drafted Aaron Rodgers in 2005, signaling the beginning of a new era. Favre began contemplating retirement, but struggled with the decision. He announced his retirement in 2008, only to change his mind shortly after. The Packers, committed to Rodgers, traded Favre to the New York Jets. His 2008 season with the Jets started strong, but a torn biceps tendon derailed the campaign. Once again, Favre retired, but in 2009, he made yet another comeback, this time with the Minnesota Vikings, one of the Packers' fiercest rivals. The move shocked the sports world. At 40 years old, Favre had one of the best seasons of his career, throwing for 4,202 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. He led the Vikings to the NFC Championship game, where they narrowly lost to the New Orleans Saints in a heartbreaking overtime thriller. In 2010, Favre returned for a final season, but age and injuries finally caught up to him. He suffered multiple injuries, including a severe shoulder injury and concussions, and his legendary consecutive game streak ended at 297. He retired this time for good at the end of the season. In 2016, Brett Favre was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. His induction speech was emotional and reflective, as he paid tribute to his father, his family, his teammates, and the Green Bay Packers. He spoke of the sacrifices, the joy of competition, and the unwavering love he had for the game. Post-retirement, Favre remained a public figure. He worked as an analyst, made appearances in commercials, and spent time with his family. He also focused on philanthropic efforts through the Brett Favre Forward Foundation, which supports disadvantaged and disabled children. His foundation, launched during his playing days, has raised millions of dollars for charitable causes across the country, particularly in Mississippi and Wisconsin. He occasionally returned to Lambeau Field, where he was always greeted with thunderous applause. In 2015, he was officially welcomed back to the Packers during a ceremony that saw his number 4 jersey retired, and his name enshrined at Lambeau Field alongside other legends. However, his post-NFL life also brought controversy. In the 2020s, Favre was linked to a welfare scandal in Mississippi, where millions of dollars intended for underprivileged communities were allegedly misappropriated. Investigators uncovered that funds had been used for personal ventures, including a volleyball facility at his alma mater. Favre has denied any intentional wrongdoing, stating that he was unaware of the origins of the funds. Legal proceedings and investigations are ongoing, and the case remains a significant chapter in his post-football narrative. Despite these challenges, Brett Favre's legacy as a football player remains profound. He retired holding records for most career passing yards, completions, and touchdowns, though those have since been broken. More importantly, he left behind an image of a fearless competitor who played with a unique combination of joy and intensity. Favre's influence extended beyond stats. He became a cultural icon, a symbol of durability, heart, and the rugged, unfiltered spirit of American football. From backyard games in Kiln to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, Brett Favre lived and breathed the game. His name is etched not just in record books, but in the memories of fans who watched him redefine what it meant to be a quarterback. Today, Brett enjoys a quieter life, spending time with his wife Deanna, daughters Brittany and Brelly, and embracing his role as a grandfather. He occasionally shares wisdom and reflections from his career, teaching young athletes about perseverance, humility, and the importance of staying true to oneself. He continues to make appearances at football events, supporting youth sports initiatives, and mentoring quarterbacks at various levels. He often speaks at leadership conferences and sports summits, offering insights into the mindset that carried him through nearly 2 decades of professional football. Brett Favre's story is one of immense talent, incredible highs, painful lows, and the unrelenting drive to compete. It is the story of a man who not only played football, but lived it with every throw, every hit, and every moment under the bright lights. And for that, Brett Favre will always be remembered as one of the greatest to ever play the game, a true warrior of the gridiron whose legend continues to inspire generations.